Youngster Rovers fan for the footballing content, and welcome to this massive video because deadline day is done. We're going to be summarising all the deals taking place yesterday in the whole of deadline day, from the first deal to the last, in that 11 o'clock shot. And don't forget though, we are going to put a disclaimer at the start of this video, so before we get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Let's get this channel up there. Let's get on the road to 1,000 subscribers on this one, and yeah, let's get straight into it. So one big disclaimer to start off with is there are deals that are going to be taking place outside of the English to international window. So Felipe Anderson, he's set to be loaned out to Porto from West Ham United for the full season. That should give him some more game time, give him some more momentum going into this season, because the Portuguese window does not close until the 25th of October. So clubs from there can still buy players from England. And also the Championship, League One and League Two window closes on the 16th of, I think it's the 15th or the 16th of October, one of those 2 days, so in the next week. And basically that means that Premier League clubs can still buy players from the Championship, League One or League Two, and vice versa. So Doncaster could still loan in a Premier League loanee or two, and they could even buy a Premier League player on a free transfer if they wanted to. I know there was a lot of jokes that Rovers maybe could get Jack Wilshere. Is that deal going to go ahead? I mean, probably not. They're joking, of course, but imagine if we did sign Jack Wilshere. I mean, Danny Welbeck's just been released by Watford. Could you imagine if we signed Jack Wilshere and Danny Welbeck? We'd be unstoppable. But no, I think Jack Wilshere will probably go to a different Premier League club, somewhere like a Brighton or an Aston Villa or somewhere like that. Or he might go to somewhere like Bournemouth, where he's been before. I think he'd be great in that midfield to add to Jason Tindall's squad. Danny Welbeck, again, I think we're looking at a Championship move here for Danny Welbeck. I think it could be something like a Bristol City to add to their firepower, or he could go back to the Premier League, and it could be, you know, Arsenal might snap him up on the free transfer. With free transfers, you can sign them anywhere, anytime. So if it's not the Championship or the Premier League for Wilshere and Welbeck, I think they're going to go, you know, abroad. I don't know, join Aaron Lennon or somewhere at Turkey, you know, or something like that. But, you know, aside from that, let's start from the beginning. Let's wind the clock back to around 9 o'clock yesterday morning. And the first deal was announced. Now, this deal was for Ben Godfrey. So at 2 minutes past 9 in the morning, Ben Godfrey was announced to be signed by Everton from Norwich City for a fee of £25 million. And this one is a very good transfer, in my opinion. This one's a really good transfer. And, you know, Ben Godfrey's just going to add extra things to that defence. I think that Everton have done, I'm going to go on about that at the end of this episode, but I think they've done some absolutely mad business, Everton. Absolutely mad. The big thing they need to sort out now is the goalkeeper position, which I'll explain in a little bit, because there's some activity that went on quite late in the transfer window surrounding that position. But for the defence, this is just extra squad depth. This is just an incredible defender to add to the squad. Norwich have had to try and hold on to their key players, haven't they? Buendia, Pookie, Cantwell, you know, and unfortunately Ben Godfrey's the next one to go. Unfortunately, couldn't save him. So, you know, I think Godfrey will be a great addition to that Everton squad. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Ryan Sessegnon moved from Tottenham to German side Hoffenheim on a season-long loan. Now, Hoffenheim are renowned for bringing in a fresh blood of players, bringing through a new crowd of players, and Ryan Sessegnon is definitely going to be one of them. I think Ryan Sessegnon will definitely be fantastic at Hoffenheim. I think that he's going to really, you know, revitalise his career. Of course, he moved from to Tottenham from Fulham, and since the move to Tottenham, after showing great signs of potential at Fulham, I think it hasn't really worked out at Tottenham. So I think a loan away to the Bundesliga will do him the world of good, and I think that this is going to be a good season for Ryan Sessegnon in the Bundesliga. I think he'll make quite an impact at Hoffenheim with his pace, his stamina, the way he can cross the ball. I think they could provide some great things that Hoffenheim maybe needed in the transfer market. So I think he's a good loan option from the Premier League. Also at 10 o'clock, Crawley Town made a signing. Well, sold someone actually. They sold Ashley Nathaniel George to Southend United, a fellow League Two team, on an undisclosed fee. Now, Nathaniel George is a good Crawley player. I'm not going to lie, he's a decent player for Crawley. And Southend have done really, really well to get this player. I think he's shown great signs. I think there's more to come from Ashley Nathaniel George, and I think that Southend have got themselves a nice attacking player, because Southend really do need better players now, because they're really starting to fall off the pace in the League Two campaign. So it's better for them if they just get this one over the line, and they did very early on in the morning. So, you know, very good from them. Just gone past 10:30 in the morning, 10:31 to be exact, and we had a loan deal in Italy from Parma to Inter Milan. It's the former Manchester United fullback Matteo Darmian. Again, Inter Milan, they're going to be bringing in a lot of these former Manchester United players. Ashley Young, Romelu Lukaku, Alexis Sanchez, and now with the signing of Matteo Darmian on a season-long loan. So this one's going to be a good one as well, because I think that Darmian could still show something. I think that he could still show some things, and I think that if there's any club to do it at, I think it would be under the management style of Antonio Conte. So I think they've really got something here with Darmian, and I think that, again, it'll be Man United's fail again, because yet again, for like the fourth time, Inter Milan have got in a former Man United player. They're going to probably turn him into a really good player, like they've done with Ashley Young, like they've done with Lukaku, and like they've done with Sanchez. So, you know, I think the sky's the limit for Darmian with this move. At 11 o'clock, we had a League One transfer, and it was a loan deal from Newcastle Jets to Shrewsbury Town. Of course, they were the team that Donny Rovers were going to play this weekend, but of course that has been postponed due to Doncaster's international call-ups. So that's been postponed to a later date. But Shrewsbury have brought in Matt Millar. Now, this is a loan deal from Newcastle Jets, and I've seen some highlights of this guy play. I think he could be a good signing for Shrewsbury. I think that he's shown great signs in the position that he plays, and you know, even though Shrewsbury aren't going to play this weekend because Rovers postponed the game due to the squad, you know, Reece James is now injured, so he won't play in the Oldham game either. So I think that, you know, I think Shrewsbury have got a nice weekend now to keep training with this guy, and hopefully Matt Millar might make the starting lineup for Shrewsbury's next league game. So it's going to be a good one. Shrewsbury fans, comment down below about this transfer. What do you think of the signing of Matt Millar? I've seen highlights of him. I think you've got a good player on your hands. Then we skip forward a couple of hours to 2 o'clock when Swansea have sold one of their players on an undisclosed fee. Christopher Pettersson has joined Fortuna Dusseldorf in the Bundesliga. Now, this guy, I think there was signs of him, but I think when he came to Swansea, I feel like, you know, I do think personally that there was a lot going on. I think that, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but I think the move to Swansea at first maybe didn't come off as good. So I think that a move back into Europe would be a good move for Christoph Pettersson. And I think a side like Fortuna Dusseldorf, who, let's face it, usually compete to the below table of the Bundesliga going into Bundesliga 2. Usually they're a yo-yo club right now between the top and the second tier of Bundesliga. So I think that a player like this could help them boost their chance of not being a YOLO club between two different Bundesliga divisions and become more of a stalemate mid-table Bundesliga team maybe. So this could be a good signing for Fortuna Dusseldorf. Then we skip forward about 48 minutes and a big transfer on a free transfer. From Paris Saint-Germain to Bayern Munich, and that is the direction of Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting on a free transfer. Now, this guy, man, I think, and to be fair, Bayern Munich as a whole, and you'll see what I mean, Bayern Munich have made some incredible transfers, and there's no doubt, in my opinion, they're going to retain the Champions League this year. But Choupo-Moting, again, he's not the best winger in the world, he's not the best midfielder in the world, but I tell you something now, he gets the job done. He's a former Stoke player, if I'm not mistaken, and, you know, there were signs we could have seen with him in English football, but it's just not worked out. So I think with Choupo-Moting, there's going to be, again, like Darmian with Inter Milan, sky's the limit with Choupo-Moting in the game time he would get on a free transfer to a club like Bayern Munich, and their manager is Premier League ready. You know, if Bayern Munich ever, you know, if the manager decides I want to try and join the Premier League now, I think any Premier League club will be dreaming of having the Bayern Munich manager right now, because he's doing an incredible job with that squad. It's an immortal squad, absolutely immortal. Yes, they scraped a 4-3 win in a competitive fixture against Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga, who just got one of the Arsenal players, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Bayern Munich, the sky's the limit with them. They're just near enough immortal at the minute under that manager, so I think that another signing like Choupo-Moting to add to that squad depth is a good transfer for them. Skip forward about 12 minutes to 3 o'clock on the dot, and Arsenal loan out one of their youngsters to League One, and that is Daniel Ballard, loaned out to the side that just entered the goes into the relegation zone, Blackpool. Well, they're near the relegation zone, they're in the relegation zone with Fleetwood, Burton and Bristol Rovers. Now, Daniel Ballard, young defender. I think this is a good signing, a great signing for Blackpool. I think Ballard's a very highly rated defender in the youth academy at Arsenal. And, you know, like me and Robbie were talking about with AFTV last week on my channel, we spoke about John Jules at Doncaster. He's a highly rated youngster and could break into the first team. I think the same story here with Daniel Ballard. I think that he's going to be a great youngster to break into that first team, hopefully in a few years' time. And I think that Blackpool will give him the development that he needs. I think Blackpool, under their second full season under the new ownership of Sadlier, of course, long gone are the days of the Oyston family. And I think Blackpool are trying to progress as a club up and up. And a signing like this, a good Arsenal loanee, would be a good signing for them. So I think Ballard is a great transfer for Blackpool, and I think it's great they've got that done. Let's go back to Bayern Munich 19 minutes later after that one, because Douglas Costa made the move on loan back to Bayern Munich from Juventus. And remember when I said Bayern Munich with an immortal squad, I was proved right again. What an immortal squad they've got, Bayern Munich, and this just adds to it. You know, they've got Choupo-Moting, they've got another winger now in Douglas Costa. What a player they've got, man. I think moving to Juventus, maybe the move didn't quite work out as much, but and at one time he was a Manchester United target. So, you know, I think that Douglas Costa going to Bayern Munich on a loan deal says to me that maybe this time next summer, I think it will be a permanent transfer somewhere else, whether it's Bayern Munich again, whether it's somewhere else in European football, whether it's somewhere else in football in general. I think Douglas Costa will move away from Juventus this time next summer, or it could just be a loan away because Juventus have so many players. They're bringing in some players as well, Juventus. So I think that it's just, you know, loaning someone out to give them first team football. So with Douglas Costa, hopefully he gets that at Bayern Munich. But Bayern Munich have got a good, absolutely fantastic squad, man. Then we go to 5 minutes to 4 in the afternoon, and Ignacio Pusetto has joined Udinese from Watford on a loan deal. Now, Pusetto, I always thought he had a fantastic future at Watford, but it doesn't look like it's worked out that way, especially with Watford's relegation back to the Championship for this season after 5 consecutive years back in the top flight, along with Bournemouth and, of course, Norwich there for a year. I think Pusetto could be a good player. I've got no doubt he's a good player, but I think that a loan out to Udinese, I think, is just the start of his return to either the Udinese squad or it could be a return to Europe. So I think that this could be the start of Pusetto's exit from Watford. But we'll have to see with that one. I think a loan out to Udinese is probably the best choice in my opinion. So hopefully he does shine in that Udinese squad while he is there. Then we move along to 16:31 p.m, 4:31 p.m, and a loanee from Wolves over to Greece, the Greece Premiership, as Ruben Vinagre joins Olympiacos on a loan deal. Now, Ruben Vinagre, I've got no doubt about it. He's one of the young Portuguese up-and-coming wing-backs, full-backs, and, you know, he can play defensive, he can play attacking, he's the perfect wing-back, and I think he's going to be the replacement to the left-back they let go to Liverpool this summer. So I think that with him filling in that slot potentially, I think they've got themselves a good player, Olympiacos. Of course, Wolves have got players in that position now, so I think Vinagre getting another loan out is probably the right decision because I hate seeing him not getting first-team football. So I think it's just a case of Wolves needing to just to let go of someone on loan while they've got players in that position that's going to get more first team football than Vinagre. So I think that it's just a case of more first team football, really. Next up, at 4 minutes past 5 in the afternoon, we had a free transfer, and Barnsley have strengthened up front with the free transfer of Celtic's Jack Aitchison. I've said for so long now, this guy's a future talent, and I'm not putting any pressure on the lad. I think he's a future star for Scotland. I think that he's a great striker, and you know, I think that Jack Aitchison could revitalise Barnsley's push. I think that this transfer is definitely a good transfer. I think that Barnsley got themselves a really good forward, a good up-and-coming forward as well. And Barnsley needs something to recuperate their season. I think that just this transfer alone, I think that it could revitalise their forward options, but I think Barnsley needs so many options around the pitch. And there is another Barnsley transfer that will happen later down the line, which I'll talk about later. But Gerard Struber, rumours of him going to New York as a manager. So all that managerial stuff is not exactly putting much, you know, positivity on the club. And I think that the fans are really angry with the board for not backing Struber as much as other managers, and not backing other managers really. So I think that, you know, I do sympathise with that, and I've seen the progress of Barnsley, and it's not really been much progress, and the board really haven't backed the managers in the past. So I think that hopefully this forward option might give Struber some selection headaches and bring him into the squad, ease him into the squad. Not too much because you might ruin his career, but I think just ease him into the squad if Struber is staying with Barnsley. Of course, Barnsley were after our Ben Whiteman for a while, and of course that might still go ahead, you know, but I think that ship's sailed by now. So unless Barnsley get a new manager, because I think Struber's comments has made Ben Whiteman go, you know what, I'm staying with Revers no matter what offer you bring at me. So I think that Jack Aitchison is a good transfer for Barnsley, but it should be interesting to see what the big transfer for Barnsley will be, and that is of course the transfer of the manager. Next up, we move on to 16 minutes past 5 in the afternoon, and Guido has moved on a free transfer from Southampton. He's gone out to Elche in the Spanish division, and I think this one was inevitable. I think that Guido Carrillo was not exactly one of the first choices at the club. I think that Southampton have got other options in there now with Shane Long, Obafemi going into the squad as a youth player into the first team. Obviously Danny Ings, Che Adams, they've got good forward options, so I think Carrillo going out of the club is probably the best option there. And I think that Elche got themselves a good forward. I think it could really revitalise his career in the Spanish division. Next up, 5:30, and Nottingham Forest terminated Albert Adamar's contract, and he finally joined at 5:30 a club. Which club, I hear you ask? Well, it's Mark Warburton's Queen's Park Rangers on a free transfer after his termination from Forest. Now, Adamar, great winger, experienced, EFL proven. I think the QPR have done some incredible business this year. There are some targets that they missed out on, which is a shame for them, but I do think QPR has made some fantastic transfers already, and I think that, you know, slowly but surely they're going to be starting to replace their big stars that they've lost. Obviously, Ibarreche Eze joined this summer from Crystal Palace from QPR, so I think that they're trying to replace those big stars, and I think that this is the small step in the right direction with an experienced EFL proven winger. So I think that this is a good transfer for QPR, and Forest losing another player, and I think that this should be interesting to see what their season holds, because I know that if they don't get any wins together in the next few games, Nottingham Forest could be sacking the manager. But I do think the manager needs more time, but if he gets the time and nothing happens, it's bye-bye manager. Next up at 5:30 at the same time, I told you guys about an Arsenal transfer out, and that is of course the long saga of the future of Matteo Guendouzi. He has joined Hertha Berlin on a loan deal for the season in the Bundesliga. Now, this is one of the big transfer sagas with Arsenal. I think I think in terms of transfer sagas, there's 5 big ones this summer. The saga of Partey, which will be concluded later in the video. The saga of Hossein Aouar. I think that's how it's pronounced. I think me and Robbie had a struggle trying to pronounce it in that video, which you didn't see on camera. But I cut it out, but I was thinking about saving it because it was funny. There's also the future of Ozil, the future of Guendouzi, and I think a bonus option really is just strengthening the bench, because apart from the first team, I think players like Mustafi, El Neni, Saka, Runarsson, you know, a lot of players that are in and currently still in at the minute, you know, was there going to be more options for the bench? That saga was brought to a close. You know, Arsenal will only make one signing, which I'll talk to you about in a bit. And of course, the two big outsiders were Mesut Ozil and Matteo Guendouzi, and I think that, you know, Guendouzi's got a bit of a reputation of being a bad apple in training and behind the scenes, according to reports. So maybe it was the best thing for him to get a loan out, especially with all the transfer circulation around his future. Especially since he was with those reports of falling out in training and stuff like that. So, you know, I think Guendouzi on a loan deal might be the best option forward, and maybe it could be a permanent transfer next summer, either to Hertha Berlin or somewhere else. But Hertha Berlin, I tell you what they're getting. They're getting a young, up-and-coming, world-class potential box-to-box midfielder. I think they're really getting a good holding midfielder who can play that box-to-box style, and hopefully that will be the style that Hertha Berlin suits him to. And hopefully Guendouzi can have a good career this season at Hertha Berlin. Moving in then to 6 o'clock and a big transfer down in League 2. Chris Taylor leaves Bradford for Barrow on a free transfer. Barrow are getting themselves a good, experienced player here. You guys are probably thinking, why have you included this transfer? Who in the world is Chris Taylor from Bradford City? I mean, first of all, can I just say, free transfer, absolute bargain for Barrow, but you know, he's played at some good clubs. He's played with Millwall, Blackburn, Bolton, Oldham, Blackpool. You know, and of course he's played for Bradford. He's a former youth at Oldham Athletic. He's 33. In terms of his honours, he was in the PFA Team of the Year in 2009, when he was, of course, an Oldham Athletic player. So, you know, you've got to look at that and think, well, hang on a minute, this guy is EFL proven. So Barrow are getting themselves an experienced head that not only could be good on the pitch, but also could be an experienced leader in the dressing room to galvanise the team at Holker Street together. So I think that, you know, Barrow definitely have themselves a good player. A really good player, and you know, I think this is one transfer I think Barrow can be really happy with. I think Barrow started this league not the best, but what I do think is Barrow can revitalise their season, and I think that can be done with this particular transfer. A nice experienced winger. 6 minutes later, we had a big transfer from Manchester United, and this is the transfer of Alex Tellez. Reportedly £13.6 million. Talk about spending on the cheap. Now, this is from Porto to Manchester United, and don't get me wrong, of all the transfers Man United have made on this deadline day, this is, in my opinion, the best one, because he's a world-class left-back. He's in his prime. He's not like a youth with so much potential, fair enough, but I think that he's prime age. He could be getting on a bit in 2, 3, 4 years' time. But I think that right now he's at his prime age. He's a prime footballer, prime talent. He's got great left-back abilities. My worry with this one, and especially with the other transfers they've made, is they're going to push a 5 at the back and make sure a left centre-back with Maguire and Lindelof, or Maguire and Bailly, because Maguire's not getting taken off. And then they play Wan-Bissaka as right wing-back and Tellez at left wing-back. That's my worry with the Tellez transfer, especially with another transfer up front, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I do have a worry with that. They're going to transfer to a 5 at the back, and and Man U fans do not like a 5 at the back. It's too defensive and it's inviting too much pressure. And especially with teams playing attacking football in the Premier League, you're going to invite a lot of pressure. Mourinho's gone back to that tick-a-tacker football at Tottenham. That is too much pressure on that United defence, and it's going to cave in. And we know what the mistakes that they have in him. Harry Maguire made mistakes, Bailly made mistakes, Shaw can't cover himself in glory for at least one of the goals against Spurs. You know, it's going to be a tough one for United because they're getting a good player, but I have a feeling they're going to play a 5 at the back formation that could get Ollie sacked. Next up then, at 16 minutes past 6, not quarter past exactly, but a Chelsea outing as Timo Bakiyoko will join Napoli on a loan deal. Now, Bakiyoko, this is an interesting one. I thought before he joined Chelsea he was an absolutely amazing looking player. Then he joined Chelsea and it just didn't seem to click with Bakayoko. I think that it just didn't seem to click. And, you know, fair enough. If it doesn't click with a club, it doesn't click. But, you know, I think Bakayoko going on another loan deal is good. It's good to, you know, keep him going with first team football. But now I sort of look at the situation with Bakayoko at Chelsea and think, how long is it going to be now before a permanent transfer comes in next year? How long will it take? Because I think Bakayoko needs a permanent move somewhere else. I think he's not getting first team football ahead of the likes of N'Golo Kanté, Jorginho, and you look at the other midfielders that are more attacking in that lineup, Ziyech, Havertz, Mason Mount, you know, all these players, and you've got youth players like Billy Gilmore coming through the first team ranks as a potentially exciting talent. How long will it be now before Bakayoko gets the call to say, you're going to be permanently transferred somewhere else? And you know what? Whether it's AC Milan, Napoli, somewhere else in Europe, I think it is going to be a European move. It will not be somewhere in England, in my opinion. But at least for now, it's good to keep him getting first team football. And I think Napoli's a good place to get first team football, especially. Next up, 25 minutes past 6 in the afternoon, and Fiorentina let go a player. And they let him go on a loan deal. So this one is an interesting one because Federico Chiesa will join Juventus on a loan deal. Now, at the start of the morning, there was an original sort of, I don't know what you call it, like a wing, what do you call it? A winger go round. Because it was linking a few different clubs with this in this whole roundabout of transfer activity. Because originally the idea was Chiesa goes to Juventus, they replace him at Fiorentina with Jose Callejon, of course out of contract at Napoli, and then originally Deulofeu was interested from Fiorentina, but he's not going there now, and the original rumour was going to go to Udinese instead. So that was the original winger go-round sort of transfer activity rumour mill. And one part of it, at least, at this stage, did come true, and that is Kiesa moves to Juventus from Fiorentina on a loan deal. Now, Kiesa is a good, young, attacking player. And believe it or not, this is the panic buy of Man United. He was a potential option if they didn't get Jadon Sancho, or Douglas Costa, or Ousmane Dembele. Now, this one's a good transfer for Juventus, in my opinion, because they're letting go of not Choupo-Moting, that's PSG. They're letting go of Douglas Costa on loan to Bayern, so he'll be back next season. But they're getting in Kiesa to fill that slot. Kiesa is a young, up-and-coming winger. Could be one of the best in the world if he just sticks his head down and gets back to his game. And I think that Kiesa will be a fantastic transfer for Juventus, in my opinion. They've got themselves a good player there. Then we go 5 minutes later to 6:30, and Reading make a very good transfer. They've had an incredible start to the Championship season. You know, them and Bristol City in the automatic promotion spots at the minute after 4 games. And Thomas Esteves, a young up-and-coming fullback, has joined Reading on a loan deal for the season from Porto. Wow. Reading, I mean, look at the business they've done. I mean, this is fantastic. Reading have just proved themselves to be a fantastic club. Now, Reading, I mean, if you don't watch the Championship, they're a former Premier League team and they haven't been in the promotion hunt for a good few years now. They've always been further down the table. And Reading's new manager, can I just mention him? The new manager at Reading this season, Veljko Paunovic. It's a silent J in his first name, so I think that's how it's pronounced. Veljko Paunovic has absolutely revitalised that side. And I've got to look at the rest of Reading's transfer activity going into this. They brought in Josh Laurent from Shrewsbury on a free, Ejaria from Liverpool on an undisclosed deal. They've loaned in Lewis Gibson from Everton, Alpha Semedo from Benfica, Tomas Esteves, of course. And they've only let go of a couple of, you know, like trialists, or they brought in trialists, and they've only loaned out a forward, Mark McNulty, to Dundee United. And that's the whole transfer window. That's not even just, you know, like the whole thing. That's not even just deadline day, that's the whole transfer window. And you look at the players they've got in their side. They've got goalkeepers, Raphael, who's a good experienced goalkeeper in their side, Omar Richards as a defender, Liam Moore, a former Leicester player, Yardem, I think he's a former Barnsley player, Olise, 18 years old. What a guy that guy is. That is a young up-and-coming talent for me. Rinham Hota, a good midfielder, holding up that ring midfield amazingly. John Swift, Felipe Arana, Sam Baldock up front, Lucas Joao, of course he's injured at the minute unfortunately. George Puskas, Sonny Aluko, Yakumite, Sam Baldock, a former Brighton player. They've got all the fundamentals of European talent, young talent from the academy, and, you know, championship proven talent like the likes of Baldock and people that have been there for a couple or a few years like John Swift. They've got a good mix of talent, and Reading could literally be challenging for a spot in the Premier League next season. And with this signing especially, Thomas Estevez, I think they've got a really good player in this guy. So, you know, fair dues to Reading for this transfer. They've got a really good young up-and-coming fullback from the Portuguese Premiership who's going to get game time at Reading. No doubt about it, he's going to get game time. So Reading, you know, Velho Paunovic is really building that Reading squad. So very good transfer from the Championship. Then, an hour later at 7:30 in the evening, West Ham. Now, they haven't done much inactivity, but they've done a lot of out activity as Exonde Silva, the Portuguese winger, was loaned out till the end of the season to Aris Thessalonica. I believe they are a Greece side, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Exonde Silva, now it's nothing against him, but I think he can do a lot better than West Ham United, in my opinion. And I know a lot of West Ham fans could probably share that with a lot of different players, like Gretason Ghana, Jeremy Ngakia. A lot of players leaving that West Ham setup, and you know, they're going to be, you know, very unhappy. West Ham fans very unhappy with the transfer activity this year. They got a couple of Czech Republic players in. The fullback, I think it's Cabral, looks good, but I think he could be a backup option. And Souček on a permanent, no different to last season. I don't think West Ham have brought in a lot of talent. I think David Moyes will not be happy with the owners with not backing him. But yes, this loan for Exonde Silva, he's gone to Greek professional football club Aris Thessaloniki, which is pronounced. So they're a good club. They finished 5th last season in the Super League Greece. They've got a 23,000 capacity stadium plus, which is the Kleithanis Vikelidis Stadium. So for those of you who need a little bit of a reminder. You know, they've got, you know, under the head coach Akis Mantzios, you know, he's got a good record in Greece, so I think that, you know, being a former Aris player, he knows the club, so that's a good coach for them, and I think that working on that coach will be fantastic for Exonde Silva. So West Ham have loaned out potentially a good Portuguese winger in the future to a good Greece club. So I think that West Ham maybe not taking the best out of this deal. 2 minutes later, another loan deal, this time for a Leicester winger, and Rashid Ghazal, who I think looked like a good talent when he came into Leicester at first, has been loaned out for the season to Besiktas in the Turkish Premiership. Now, Rashid Ghazal, I think there was some signs with him that it could have been something good, but I think we're looking here now at a someone who's going to go for permanently next summer. Could be another loan deal next summer as well, but who knows. But I think it's going to be another permanent deal. But Ghazal showed a few signs when he came into the Leicester squad, but I think, again, it's just not worked out with him. And that's the thing with transfers nowadays. If it doesn't work at a club, you've got to go somewhere where it works. And there's one particular one from Everton to Southampton, which I'll talk about in a bit, where I think it has worked in favour of both clubs. But I think that Ghazal deserves the move somewhere else, just to get a bit more first-team football under his belt, especially since, you know, there's players like Harvey Barnes and players like that ahead of him in the Leicester City squad at the minute. So I think that a transfer away from Leicester would be good enough for Ghazal. But I think it will be permanent somewhere else next year. But for now, at least, it is a loan deal to a very good Premiership side in the Turkey leagues. Next up, a minute after that one, Bayern Munich loaned out one of their midfielders. Now, this was a Leeds target before deadline day. And Michael Cuisant has been loaned out to Marseille in the French Premiership. Now, this is a very good midfielder Marseille are getting. A good, young, up-and-coming midfielder, a holding midfielder, an attacking midfielder who can play box-to-box. He could literally play any kind of central midfield style you want. So they're getting a really good midfielder here, Marseille. I think it's going to really revitalise that squad, getting a nice, fresh, up-and-coming young talent. So Bayern Munich, I think they've got a lot of midfielders already. They've let go of Thiago to Liverpool, so, you know, they are going to bring in a lot of players, but I think letting go of someone else, I think, is probably needed at this point to give him more first-team football for his development. But Bayern Munich and Marseille probably getting the best out of both worlds on this deal. 8 o'clock on the dot. Josh Cullen leaves West Ham for an undisclosed fee to Anderlecht, and I know people are going to be absolutely angry with the owners for this one because they've done the same thing they've done with Dean Garner to West Brom, and they've done the same thing for Ngakia to Watford. They've let go of academy talents, and I spoke earlier that Felipe Anderson is set to be loaned out for the season to Porto. If you don't want to go with an academy side and you want to go with a European side, like the top European talent to make them better from last season, why are you loaning them out as well as selling the academy? I don't get West Ham's transfer policy. I really, really don't. And, you know, it's going to be a tough season for West Ham. I know Harry Redknapp was on deadline day and he said, you know, he don't think West Ham will be in a relegation scrap. I'm sorry, Harry, I disagree with that. I think that West Ham are going to be in a relegation scrap and they may not survive from this one. So, and they don't deserve... West Ham's owners do not deserve David Moyes. I think David Moyes is way too good for them. But Josh Cullen, on loan from he was on loan at Charlton, I believe, last season. So he is a good talent. He's got good abilities, and I think that he will flourish in that Anderlecht side. And you just watch in about, what, 3, 4, 5 years? Could you just imagine if West Ham tried to buy Cullen back for about 25 to 30 million pounds and thought, why did we let him go? Why did we let him go? So it's going to be a tough one for West Ham, in my opinion, with this one. I think they've not dodged a bullet with this one. They took the bullet straight to the chest. Moving on then, nearly at 8:30 in the evening, and we have another Man U out, and that is, of course, Chris Smalling, who has joined Roma for £13.6 million. And you know what? Smalling was the best defender they've got at that club. Bailly, he has mistakes in him, unfortunately, but he's a pacey defender and he needs to be that partner with a more slower defender. Maguire is not good enough. He's not worth 80p, let alone 80 million. At the fact that he's the world most expensive defender, and I said this in that Man United video a couple of days ago. I said, and I found this stat, Maguire cost more than the whole starting 11 of Bayern Munich. What does that tell you about Harry Maguire? It's just an absolute overhype. Luke Shaw can't cover himself in glory. Lindelof is the Iceman, apparently, but apparently he's just melted these past few weeks. So, and he's not even starting now, so I think that, you know, what's the future of Lindelof? I know it's just one game not starting, but what's the future of Lindelof? You know, they can't replace Maguire, they can't take Maguire out of the side for Newcastle after the international break because he's club captain. But, you know, are they going to take out Bailly, who's probably the better of the centre-backs? And they're going to put Lindelof back in, have a slow back line that Newcastle can speed past and cut inside and make mistakes. It's mad at Man United. Chris Smalling was probably the deal I was expecting to see first, to be honest, because that one has been going on for quite a few months now. I knew Smalling was going to go, but they were stalling over fees, and, you know, they're getting 13.6 million out of him, so... You know, it's a bad one for Man United. They've let go of one of their best defenders for the last few years, and it's going to be tough to find a replacement for that if they ever do find a replacement. 1 minute later, Watford loan out to CSKA Sofia, their South American attacking player Adalberto Panaranda on a loan deal. So I was expecting a permanent transfer for this guy to somewhere else, but the fact that it's a loan deal could suggest to me that he could break into that first team at some point, especially with Welbeck's contract being terminated by you know, by him and the club. So maybe Panaranda getting a loan out maybe would mean first team football next season, whether Watford are in the Premier League or the Championship still. So this is going to be a good transfer for him to get first team football and build that momentum going back into that Watford first team. At the same time, we had 3 other deals. Now, one of them is the undisclosed transfer, but it's reported to be £750,000 for Benfica's Chris Willock, and he's joined Mark Warburton's QPR, another big, great transfer for QPR. And again, this is replacing their top-tier talent. This is, I mean, to be fair, when I first saw this transfer at 8:30 last night, I was thinking, does that mean Bright Essay Samuel? Because I know he's been linked with a move to Crystal Palace for the last few weeks. You know, is he going to go out on loan or a permanent transfer to Crystal Palace or a different side in the Premier League? So I was thinking to say Samuel would be on the way out with this transfer coming in because, of course, you know, he is he's a winger. He's a left and right winger as well as playing as a cam sometimes as well. So I think that he's a versatile attacker, and he definitely could be. Someone that's going to be built around in the QPR squad for the future. I think QPR are really building this season. At the same time then, Riley McGree joined on a loan deal from Charlotte FC to Birmingham. So Birmingham getting a good player there. Riley McGree, I didn't know much about him, so I saw some highlights. He looks a decent talent, but I don't think he's going to get first-team football all the time. I think he's just there for squad depth, in my opinion. But Birmingham are getting good players. Good to get squad depth in on them. And then we have another loan out from Watford to CSKA Sofia, and that is the English striker Jerome Sinclair. So he's going out to the same club as Penaranda, so they're really building with the Watford loanees that over at CSKA Sofia. So good move for Sinclair there as well as Penaranda. 10 minutes later at 40 minutes past 8 in the evening, Nuno da Costa joined Royal Excel Mouscron from Nottingham Forest on a loan deal. That is a big transfer for them, but Nottingham Forest letting go of one of their top paid strikers in their squad. So that's going to be an interesting one. Is this kind of the strategy that the manager's going across now to get results? Because let's face it, in that Bristol City game when they lost 2-1, they had chances. They were building something. It was just the result that went against them, and Bristol City continued that fantastic start to the season. So there were signs in the Bristol City game they could build on something to eventually start getting results and get away from that relegation zone. And, you know, this could be the start. I mean, Nuno da Costa going out on loan, Nottingham Forest fans, what do you think about that? Comment down below. But it's going to be a tough one to see what the kind of strategy to go with because, you know, without one of their top striker talents, let's be perfectly honest, what they're going to do? Are they going to play? They keep playing Manuel Guerrero? Are they going to keep playing Lewis Graben? Are they going to bring in someone else from the Championship or League One and League Two just to build that strike force up? We'll have to see. At 9 o'clock, Josh Knight joined Wycombe Wanderers on loan from Leicester City. I think that's a good signing for Wycombe. I think that is a good young up and coming English centre back. In that Leicester squad, he needs first-team football. Why not go to a side that needs to help stop conceding goals? Because Wycombe have not had a good start to the Championship. And everyone's written off Wycombe Wanderers already. I think they've got some surprise up their sleeve, so I'm not going to write them off just yet. And I think that this signing could be a good signing for their back line. Definitely could improve it, in my opinion. A minute later, Wesley Hoyt and Sofiane Boufal at 10 minutes past 9, so 9 minutes difference between the two. Both Wesley Hoyt and Sofiane Boufal leave Southampton. Now, Wesley Hoyt at 1 minute past 9 leaves on a loan deal to Lazio. I believe that's got an obligation to buy as well. So Wesley Hoyt could move permanently to Lazio next season. So this one's an interesting transfer because, of course, Wesley Hoyt along with Sofiane Boufal were top paid transfers for Southampton. They were the top signings for the squad back when they came into the squad. And it's not exactly worked out for them at Southampton, so I think the move away would be a good one. Now, of course, at 10 minutes to 9, Sofiane Boufal joined Angers on a loan deal. They're in the French league. And this is a good one for me as well because I think Boufal is a very creative, technical ability kind of player. A good technical winger, not just about pace and power and stamina, but I think he's got that the specifics of cutting inside, you know, in and out dribbling. He's got all the logistics and statistics of a technical ability winger with that pace, power and stamina. So this could be a good transfer for Angers, and hopefully he can get one a permanent deal next season. At 9:30, the winger go-around I was talking about with Kiesa, it went in motion because Gerard Deulofeu did join Udinese on a loan deal from Watford. Now, Deulofeu didn't deserve the Championship. Neither did Ismail Sarr. I mean, Man United could still get Ismail Sarr. You never know. They could still get Ismail Sarr because the Championship window does not close until the 15th or 16th of October, along with League One and League Two. So there's going to be a lot more League One and League Two deals being done before that day. There's going to be a second deadline day this year, which is unheard of. But, you know, I think Deulofeu, like Ismail Sarr, does not deserve the Championship, in my opinion. Deulofeu will get some first-team football at Udinese. Very creative player, didn't deserve to get relegated. I think he was probably one of Watford's best players, or arguably the best player at Watford in that season they got relegated. So, I think that, Nigel Pearson really tried to recuperate that squad, then got sacked for no reason. They tried to save it with a couple of games with the assistant manager. That backfired. They got relegated. And, I think Watford just weren't up to the races that year. So I think Deulofeu deserves first-team football somewhere in Europe. And I think maybe this could be the first signs of a permanent move next year. At the same time, Barnsley finally got rid of one of their Austrians, which could be long-term repercussions for the manager, as Marcel Ritzmaier, who hasn't really performed for Barnsley, in my opinion, I know a lot of fans may agree with that, has been gone on a loan deal to Rapid Vienna in Austrian Premiership. Now, Ritzmaier, what's he done since he joined Barnsley? I think that the Austrian transfer strategy, in my opinion, with the likes of Fraser, Ritzmaier, it just has not worked for Barnsley. And I think that getting this guy out on loan, obviously it's not a permanent transfer, which I know a lot of fans, really wanted a permanent transfer for this guy. But a loan deal could be the start of a permanent transfer. So do not worry, Barnsley fans, it might not be long. And I think learning out Ritzmaier, because I know Struber likes to play with his Austrian players, like Fraser, like Ritzmaier, no matter what. So possibly with Ritzmaier going out on loan, which could lead to a permanent transfer somewhere else or at Rapid Vienna next season, depending how he does on loan, maybe this is a sign that Struber is going to leave the club and someone else is going to come into Barnsley and take charge of that squad. So who knows? This could be a sign. It could be a fortune-telling mystery. Who knows? But I think Ritzmaier going out on loan when he's supposed to be a first-team player is definitely saying something behind the scenes at Barnsley. 3 minutes to 10, Man United make another transfer that they probably could have made 6 weeks from this deadline. They wasted the whole day to sign this guy. Edison Cavani on a free transfer from unattached after his exit on his contract from Paris Saint-Germain last season. He's been out of the game for, they could have done this transfer 6 weeks ago. They didn't have to wait until deadline day to do it. This is Man United to a T, isn't it, though? 33, they said they were going to build for the future. They were going to buy the best players to build for the future and make this Man United team great again. And then we're in this position now where they're getting a 33-year-old who might be a good leader in the dressing room. But let's face it, I think Cavani would have been a good signing 5 years ago and not now. But Forlan did say to Micah Richards that Cavani still got it. So I don't look at this as a Falcao type deal. I look at this as more of a Zlatan Ibrahimovic deal, but there's still negatives in the Zlatan Ibrahimovic deal because he was only there for a year. So this says to me we're only going to get like a year's use out of him. And with Tellez and Shaw's future, I think this puts pressure on the future of Marcus Rashford or Mason Greenwood or especially Anthony Martial. Because if you look at it, if they're going to put Cavani in the starting lineup, especially with Martial suspended for 3 games, why didn't Lamela get suspended as well? I have no idea. But with Martial suspended for 3 games, this puts Cavani in the hot seat to start the next 3 Man United games at the very least. And if Martial comes back, they're going to play him out of position. They're going to put Rashford up front with Cavani, if it's going to be a striker pair, or it's going to be Cavani on his own with a back 5. And Martial is either going to be on the bench or going to play on the wing, and Greenwood's going to be on the bench, or Rashford's going to be on the bench, and Greenwood and Martial play on the wing. Martial's not a winger. Martial's not a cam. He's a forward. And if Cavani's going to be the only sole striker in that back 5 formation they could use against Newcastle in the next few games, that's going to make Martial unhappy. But people have an agenda. Some Man United fans actually have an agenda against Luke Shaw and Anthony Martial. So they'll be rubbing their hands thinking, yes, we get to hate on them even more now because they're not playing. So they can't defend themselves. And Martial's been really progressing in that squad ever since Lukaku went to Inter Milan. So I think Martial's really been pushing to continue first-team football at Man United. But if I were Martial, I was thinking, why they're buying a striker? I guess it's extra firepower and an extra leader, but my position's under threat, but my position wasn't the priority in the transfer market. The priority for Man United was a winger, which they have got, but that's one in... They've got an 18-year-old and one in January. And a centre-back, they haven't got one. So, in fact, they've sold one. They've sold their best centre-back, Smalling. So, It's going to be a tough one for me. But the good things about Edinson Cavani is you get a good year out of him. He can score goals. He may still have it, and he's a good leader in that dressing room, which could help Bruno Fernandes because I think he's the captain. And you know what the weird thing is? Bruno Fernandes got subbed off reportedly because he was having a go at Harry Maguire for not doing his job, and apparently him and Martial got to wait in the dressing room during the second half and didn't even sit on the bench. That just pushes the agenda out even more, and it makes Harry Maguire look, it makes Harry Maguire look more important than the rest of the whole club, and that's not the case. No player is bigger than any club. Maybe Messi and Ronaldo to an extent, but no player is bigger than any club. The club is always first, but it doesn't look like it with that situation with Bruno and Harry Maguire. Moving then to 10:30 in the evening, and Cafu signs for Nottingham Forest on a loan deal from Olympiacos. He's a good player in my opinion. I think they've got a good player there. I mean, Olympiacos, of course, I told you guys they were getting Vinagre on loan from Wolves. When you look at this Cafu guy that they're getting at Nottingham Forest, I mean, if you don't know much about this particular player, the Nottingham Post put out like an article a couple of hours ago asking, who is Cafu? He's a midfielder. 27 years old, currently plays for Olympiacos. It will be just a loan deal. Who are also owned by the Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis, so I think the connection was already there. Now, he started his career at Portuguese side Vitória before coming up through the youth team at Benfica, and he's played in France and Poland before joining Olympiacos back in January 2020, and now he's going to get first team football in the Nottingham Forest squad. So they've got a good transfer here, Nottingham Forest, and hopefully this could be one of the signings to push them out of the relegation zone and get their season up and running. At the same time, they had announced that Leeds United had signed for 17 million plus add-ons in pounds Stade Rennes winger Rafinha, the young player. What, oh my God, what a signing. Leeds United under Marcelo Bielsa have made so many good signings. It's absolutely surreal. Leeds United are going to become a big club again. No doubt about it. They've got fantastic owners now. They've got Marcelo Bielsa at the helm. They've got great players already in that squad, and they've just added to that with a brilliant player there. So, again, this is a fantastic transfer for the club, and this is going to be something that, this is going to be a fantastic transfer. Good young winger, good pace, good power, good stamina, puts in wicked crosses, and, this guy's going to be brilliant for Leeds United at Ellen Road. Hopefully when the fans are back, let's remind you of that article, Boris encouraging people to go to the cinema after Cineworld closes its doors, or before Cineworld closes its doors, but supporters are still not in outdoor football stadiums. Yeah, let's leave that conversation there and leave it to the politics to decide that one. Moving on to another 10:30 deal, and that was a big one. This is a big one, maybe not in terms of the size of the deal, but in terms of the history surrounding this deal. Theo Wolcott joins Southampton on loan for the season from Everton. Now, I think it was very, very clear that with the signings of the big players at Everton, Theo Wolcott was not going to be in the plans of Carlo Ancelotti at Everton. And I think it was very clear he was going to move, maybe permanent, maybe loan, I didn't have a clue. But I think Southampton's the right move in the end, because you've got to remember he's a former Southampton player. He came from that club to Arsenal as a young guy. So, he was at Southampton at the same time as Gareth Bale. Can you imagine that? And, this guy is just incredible. I think he's a good player. He had some inconsistencies for the last few years of his career at Arsenal. Everton came into the side, make a good impact, and then it was kind of, drifting away again. So I think the move to Southampton will make it more familiar for him. I think it's nice not going somewhere where he doesn't know the club. I think it's nice going back to a club he knows oh so well, go back to his roots. He knows the club, he knows how the club operates, he loves the style of Hasenhüttl, so I think that's going to be very, very key. And, I think this is a great transfer for both clubs. And also at 10:30, a good transfer here for Blackpool. Again, Daniel Gretason joins on an undisclosed fee from Ailsons FK. Now, I believe they are a Swedish club, I believe. Now, Daniel Gretason, for those of you who have absolutely no idea, and Blackpool fans probably thinking, what are we getting with this guy? Well, he is a defender. He's Icelandic, 25 years old. Looking into his stats here, he started his senior career at Grindvold. Then he moved to Aalesund in 2015 after a good 3 years with Grindavik, and then after 5 years at Ellison, making 105 appearances and 5 goals, he is now in the Blackpool squad on an undisclosed fee. Now, he is currently an Iceland starter, so he is going to be he is a starter for his country. He's one of the big first teamers at Iceland squad. So I think they've got themselves a really good player, someone who's playing for international, someone who's going to be a very key player for Blackpool's defence to stop letting in goals and get them out the relegation scrap. And I think that Blackpool definitely have got themselves a really good player here. So Blackpool should be very happy with the transfer business they've done. They've brought in a young defender from Arsenal and an experienced Icelandic national first team defender from the Swedish Premiership. So they've got some great business here down at the seaside. Now, moving into 2 minutes to 11, so a couple of minutes before that deadline. And Sandro left Everton on a free transfer to Huesca in the Spanish leagues. Now, Sandro came into the Everton side, showed some good signs as a forward, and I think he just fell off a bit at Everton. He just lost his perch. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was proving himself year upon year. He was getting better as a player, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and now he's top goal scorer, in my opinion, for the Golden Boot. But Sandro just lost his place. I think it was just player development and just things happened and he just lost his place. So it's good to get a move back into Europe for Sandro. Hopefully he can rebuild his career a bit more at Huesca. He can get into the first team there, no doubt. And I think that Sandro will be a good player for that club. So Huesca fans, if you're watching this in Spain, well done. You got yourselves a good forward there who can prove himself. Then we go past the 11 o'clock, so the window is shut. However, you may see, they've got this thing called deal sheets, where if you get the right paperwork in before 11 o'clock, it means you have an extra 2 hours to complete transfers. And my God, did that extra 2 hours prove crucial for so many clubs. Starting at 10 minutes past 11. Now, I said to you, Everton needed a goalkeeper. I was speaking with Broads on his live transfer show on 2 different live streams. I was with a guy called Salah, who's a Liverpool fan, on the first one, and then it was me and Broads on the second one for a good hour and 10 minutes. So, you know, we were on this transfer stream, and I said to Broads straight away, Everton needed a goalkeeper now. All they needed was a goalkeeper. They got a defender, they got a monster of a midfield. They've got an attack force unlike any other. They just need a goalkeeper now to provide the future of Pickford at stake. Maybe not Pickford's future at Everton, but his future as an England goalkeeper. I think someone needs to provide competition for Pickford, because apart from Pickford, I couldn't see any other goalkeepers at Everton providing competition. Well, they've just got competition. They have signed Robin Olsen on a loan deal from Roma in the Italian Serie A. Oh my God, congratulations Everton Football Club, you've just won the Premier League. Oh my God, Everton, and I'm going to talk about which clubs have done the best business and the worst business, but you know which side's going to be in there. Everton have just done some monstrous transfers in my opinion, and this one is no different. He's in the Roma squad. I think he was first team choice goalkeeper, or he was battling to be first choice. He was right up there with the other first choice keepers, and you know, Robin Olsen is going to be a great transfer for Everton. Carlo Ancelotti has come in and he's turned that Everton side from a top 10 side into a title contender in just one window. That is the impact of Carlo Ancelotti. And people, when Carlo Ancelotti first came into Everton, it was cries of, he's not good enough, he's past it, da 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 da. I had the sceptics, but I did have an inkling that Ancelotti was going to do some wonders at Everton with a full transfer window under his belt. And my God, did he have a full transfer window this summer. What a transfer window. James, Allen, Decore, Olsen, Godfrey. So many transfers that I can't even count on one hand. It's just been a brilliant transfer window for Everton. And Robin Olsen, I've seen highlights of this guy. Great goalkeeper. He can provide. He can put Pickford in his place. If he's making mistakes in the games, he's going to put Pickford in his place and compete for the #1 shirt. Even though Pickford wears it, I think Olsen's going to be right up there as #1, metaphorically. So good transfer there from Everton. A brilliant transfer. Then, at 11:15, the transfer that Arsenal fans were waiting for. The signing for £45.3 million release clause. Of course, you didn't approach the club. They had to approach the La Liga board to pay the transfer. Nothing that Diego Simeone could do about it. Thomas Partey becomes an Arsenal player. Ooh, what a transfer for Arsenal fans. And of course, at the same time, the other way, on a loan deal for the end of the season, Lucas Torreira joins Atletico Madrid the other way. But that's on a loan deal. Next season, they'll have Torreira back. They'll have Torreira, Partey, Ceballos, Xhaka and Willock as backup. Oh my God, Arsenal. Like Everton, they are building under Mikel Arteta, and the fans, I think fans are going to be crying for an Edu statue outside the stadium now, because at the moment, before the news came in, because I had my Twitter notifications on, bang on, and the big news was that Partey was not looking to sign for Arsenal. He was not going to become an Arsenal player. That was the big story. Transfer business was done. Fans were probably crying for Kroenke to go, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the reports come in that Arsenal are going to pay the release clause. And they're like, yeah, we've heard the talk before. They're going to pay it, they're not going to pay it. They're going to pay it, they're not going to pay it. We'll believe it when we see it. And then straight afterwards, they get the report they've paid the release clause and Partey's flying. And you've had fans tracking his damn plane all over to London. You know, I think it was very clear he wasn't going to fly to London. It was just going to be, you know... It was flying to, because he was doing, I think it's Africa Cup of Nations duties, or just international duties in general with his nation. So, I think there was a rumour he was going to fly to London as a pit stop between going from Madrid to international duty. So maybe he stopped off at London to do the whole signing and stuff like that, and then go over to international, or he may do all of that in Madrid or in Africa. So... however that works, I don't know. I mean, they've released a video with him already. His first interview as an Arsenal player, so, you know, I think he's definitely done the London stuff and he's now going to fly to Africa for the Africa Cup of Nations duties or international duties with the Africa squad, with his nation's squad. So I think it's Ghana, I believe. So he'll be playing with the Ghana squad now for international duties. So, but this is a brilliant transfer. They've got an absolute monster in that midfield, a good holding midfielder, an absolute nasty monster, just holding that midfield, giving Ceballos more creative freedom as a playmaker. Now, does he replace Xhaka, or do they have a partnership and then they have Ceballos in front as the playmaker of the three midfield? I think it's going to be Xhaka and Partey, and you know what? Xhaka is the deep playmaker with the long shots. Partey's the holding playmaker, the holding midfielder with the shot stops. What a partnership they've got here with Granit Xhaka as a long shot taking, pot shot taking, holding playmaker, and then they have a shot stopping, holding midfielder, and a ball winner in Thomas Partey. What a partnership. And then having the creative freedom of Dani Ceballos in front. And if he's going to be a permanent move to Arsenal next season, because it is another loan deal this year, it's the second loan deal in a row consecutively. If they get Ceballos on a permanent deal, that's it. Ozil's gone. Players they don't want are going to go. And Arsenal have got their side to challenge for the title, in my opinion. And challenge for the top four, definitely, but maybe for the title as well, especially if Man City drops off, Chelsea drops off, Spurs finish in the top four, Liverpool finish in the top 2 or 3, and Man United definitely outside top 10 at the minute. So, you know, Arsenal could have their best chance of trying to approach a title, especially with Liverpool losing, City drawing, Chelsea drawing and losing games, of course the one against Crystal Palace as well, Man United consecutively losing, Spurs getting victories. So they've got their best chance at trying to get into the top 4 this year, with other sides dropping off. And then the other way, Lucas Torreira to Atletico Madrid on a loan deal to the end of the season. That's the good thing. They've got Torreira coming back next season, but I think he'll be moving on a permanent deal next year to Atletico Madrid. I think they'll make it permanent. But Torreira, it doesn't really work at Arsenal. It didn't really work at Arsenal. I think he showed some good signs at first under Unai Emery, but since Unai Emery's sacking, he hasn't really been in the plans of Mikel Arteta, so I think it was very, very clear that Torreira was going to probably leave Arsenal. I was thinking a permanent deal, but it's going to be a loan deal, but I think it will be permanent next year, especially if it does a good job in that Atletico Madrid squad with the likes of Luis Suarez he's playing with. He's playing with his former Uruguayan teammate, Luis Suarez, so very, very good for him. So, big deals one way than the other between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal. Then, at just gone 20 to midnight, Tosin Adarabioyu joins Fulham on a permanent deal on an undisclosed fee from Manchester City. this is a big deal for Fulham's defence, because I think he's a good young up-and-coming centre-back. I think he's got some really good potential, and I think that Man City have got themselves a really good player here. So, no real worries about this transfer at all. No real worries whatsoever. And, you know, I think this guy's going to be a good player for Fulham's defence. A good young up-and-coming defender as well. So, someone for the future as well as the present. Then, with it was nearly 10 minutes to midnight, and Saido Berahino joins Sporting de Charleroi from Zulte Waregem on a loan deal. So a Belgian to Belgian club, a former West Brom and Stoke striker, Saido Berahino, joined Zulte Waregem in recent years, and he's been loaned out now to Charleroi, so he's going to be a good first team player for Charleroi. And I think that he'll be a good player for them. So I think this not much to say on this deal. I think that when Berahino was in the West Brom setup with the likes of Romelu Lukaku nearing his exit, I think that Berahino did show signs. But Berahino definitely dropped off. He was going on that incredible worst goal drought ever, in my opinion, in the Premier League under, you know, the Stoke era as well. And, you know, he just didn't prove himself. So I think a move abroad would help him. And, you know, I think it's not really worked out as much at Zulte Waregem. So I think that a move to Sporting de Charleroi on a loan deal will give him some more first-team football and some more time to develop. Then, at 17 minutes past midnight, Rafinha signed to PSG on an undisclosed fee from Barcelona. Not Rafinha at Leeds, but Rafinha, the Brazilian midfielder, and he's a young up-and-coming player. So I think this is a good transfer for PSG, someone else to add to that midfield. Obviously, with people like Matuidi going, the future of Rabiot was still under consideration. So I think that, and you know, obviously under Herrera was there as well. So I think that Rafinha is going to be a good addition to that Paris midfield and to help them bolster their title hopes. And finally, at 1 o'clock in the morning, we had the confirmation of the transfer from Chelsea to Fulham on a season loan deal for the out of favour Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Now, this guy will be a good transfer for Fulham because I think he's been plagued with injuries, but I think that this guy is just going to be a great guy for Fulham. I think he's going to help the attacking side of things. They've got the defensive side of things, and I think that you know, this is, you know, definitely, you know, a very good move for him. I think that he's got the ability. He's definitely got the know-it-all to be a top player at that club. He's going to be a good player at Fulham, in my opinion, as long as he can stay injury-free. So I think that it's going to be a crucial season for Loftus-Cheek because it's going to be a test to see whether he can compete for first-team football on loan at another Premier League club. Whoo! That is it! That is it, transfer deadline day. So to sum up this video, we're going to be conducting 2 top 3 lists of clubs that have and have not done the best business, and then another top 3 list of the most frustrated fans. So, let's start with the clubs that have done the best business. So at number 3, this is just the Premier League, not all the clubs, but in terms of the Premier League, at number 3, this is going to be a tough one. I think I'm going to put Chelsea at number 3 because I think they've made, on paper, they've made world-class signings. Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Kai Havertz, Ben Chilwell, Malang Sarr, Thiago Silva, Edouard Mendy for the goalkeeper position to push out the inconsistent Kepa Arrizabalaga, who's the world's most expensive goalkeeper, so money doesn't mean everything. I think Chelsea on paper have made fantastic transfers, but it's all about on the pitch, and I think they still need to gel this together. I think that was one of the big criticisms with Chelsea, and the fact that why many people thought that Chelsea won't win the league this year. And that is because all of these are new signings that are great, but they're new to each other in terms of a team basis with the rest of the Chelsea squad. So they've got to have time to gel in. And I think that whether Abramovich will give Lampard the time to let them gel in and finish maybe 3rd or 4th and get that top 4 finish under their belt in the first season with these new players, it'll be interesting to see. Second, I'm going to go with Liverpool. I think that they've done very good business. I think Arsenal's up there, especially, but I think Liverpool's in second for me. Liverpool, they've done some good transfers. When they brought in that left-back from Olympiacos, I thought, no, this is going to be a bad window, where the usual pattern, you know, it happened with Roberto Mancini at City, with Conte at Chelsea. The year after they win the league, you know, they don't spend any money. They don't make first-team improvements. They don't make massive changes, which is what you need to do as a champion. You need to continuously invest to keep that title. Guardiola did it back-to-back, and Ferguson's always done it and strengthened their squad. Mourinho didn't do it in his second spell at Chelsea, especially, but you know, I think that Liverpool, you know, after that left back from Greece, they brought in Thiago, they brought in Diogo Jota, they brought in some good transfers. So if they can get Alisson back to full fitness, obviously Mane's self-isolating due to COVID positive test. Shaqiri has now tested positive for coronavirus, so my utmost support to Shaqiri goes out from me, to him, to his friends and family, and also out to Mane as well. And also best of wishes to Alisson, who's got that shoulder injury as well. So my best wishes go to Alisson, of course, but also especially to Mane and Shaqiri, who are self-isolating now with COVID. So it's a tough season for Liverpool, especially with all the COVID cases with Sadio Mane and Shaqiri. And they definitely... You know, Diogo Jota's a great player, but I think they definitely missed Mane in that Aston Villa game that could have ripped them apart. And I think that Alisson in goal is better than Adrian. And we had this debate with Broads last night. You know, would you rather have Adrian or Karius? I would rather have Adrian, but if it came down to it, I would rather than brought in Gazzaniga. But of course, I think he's stayed at Spurs now. There's nothing going on with Gazzaniga. So, yeah, it looks like they're going to be sticking with Adrian and Karius, with Alisson when he comes back from injury. But I think that without Alisson and Mane, I think Liverpool could be looking for a couple of more losses against maybe one or two lower ranked teams than Liverpool. So, but the transfers they've made are really good, don't get me wrong. That's why I put them second, because the left back could be a good backup option, second or third choice, don't matter. Good to have that squad depth. Thiago, world-class midfielder, good to have him in the ranks. And Diogo Jota deserves the big move, in my opinion. He might be back up, he might be replacing Shaqiri from the squad, but I think that Diogo Jota could do the job. He didn't do it against Aston Villa, but he can do the job. And then first, you guys know what I'm going to say, it has got to be Everton first with the best business in the window. I'm struggling to find words to say about Everton. I really, really am, because they've done some fantastic business. James Rodriguez, Allen, Decore, Olsen on loan. They've loaned out Wolcott. They've brought in Ben Godfrey. They've brought in players in every single position nearly. So, you know, Everton are really going to be up there as a title contender. And I think, and we spoke about this in the past, best Merseyside derby in years. I think that's one of the first games after the international break in a couple of weeks' time. So I cannot wait for that Merseyside derby. I'm going to be watching that game with full eyes focused. Now, the three clubs that have done the worst business. Now, at third, I'm going to say Manchester United. Now, you lot can come out and say, Edison Cavani, legendary striker. Alex Tellez, world-class left-back. We've got a young 18-year-old winger. We've got another 18-year-old winger coming in January. Why are you putting them in the top three worst transfer business? Because one, it's panic buy, and two, the manager didn't get backed. He needed a centre-back, he needed Sancho. They didn't spend the money and they used COVID as an excuse. I don't get it. I don't get it. Cavani's a good leader, don't get me wrong. Alex Tellez has got really good technical ability in him, do not get me wrong. The two young wingers, Traore in January, and this Palestri guy who signed as well, I forgot to mention that earlier, he's signed for about £9 million from the Uruguayan Premiership. He'll be joining the first team. He's not going to the academy, he's going straight into the first team. I mean, to be fair, him and Traore are the actual long-term signs they were talking about, you know. They've been scouting Traore for a few years, Palestri looks good, but come on. Everyone wants a centre-back, everyone wants Sancho, they didn't get them. They didn't even get Dembele. They didn't even get Ousmane Dembele, the second alternative. This is like the fourth, fifth 6th options behind the top targets. And again, the board have failed the manager. And it's only going to be a matter of time before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer pays the price for the board's mistakes. And again, he is the scapegoat for bad player performances and boardroom mistakes. When Man United was bought by the Glazers in 2005, they bought the club with debt money. So they had to pay interest and, you know, Ferguson's trophies shielded boardroom mishaps. There was already controversy surrounding the buying of the club. You know, they wanted to buy them and get them out of debts, and they paid the money to buy the club with debt money. And they're still trying to pay off some of them debts, I think. So, you know, what makes them fit to run a football club? They've got bankers in charge of recruitment of football. Then if they're not going to sell the club, there needs to be a director of football. There needs to be recruiters that actually know football, so you can keep Woodward and Matt Judge on the director's side of things, on the marketing and the advertising side of things. Because you know what's going on in that dressing room now. You know what's going on in that boardroom with Woodward and Glaze on the phone call. They're going to be sitting there going, well, at least we got that Adidas sponsor. You know, we got third place because we're not going to half the price on that Adidas sponsor, which means we're going to make a whole lot of money on it. They want to make money out of a football club, and that's not right. They're not making the right transfers at the right time, at the right opportunity. So, you know, I don't think Sancho's ever going to come to Manchester United now. I think that he's either going to stay at Dortmund or someone's going to pick him up in a couple of years when his contract runs out, and someone's going to make him join Real Madrid or Barcelona, or even, oh my God, for Man United fans' sake, if he joins Liverpool in 2 years, that is an embarrassment for United. You know, and there were people in the centre-back room crying, why don't we get Rudiger? You know, there was talk between him and another club that fell down. Let's get Rudiger. Didn't even look for Rudiger. Didn't even look for him. And you know what's the worst thing? The Championship, League 1 and League 2 deadline is the 15th or the 16th of October. Man U could honestly get Joe Rodon from Swansea if Tottenham aren't getting him, and he could literally get Ismail Sarr from Watford. They're bench players at a team like Liverpool. They are bench players at a team like Man City. They're bench players at Chelsea and Arsenal and Tottenham. But they're going to go into the first team at Man United. That's how far they've fallen. At second place, I'm going to go with Burnley because Sean Dyche did not get backed whatsoever, and there's no I completely understand why fans are crying for that American consortium to take over Burnley, because Sean Dyche has not been given the backing this window. They sold key players, but they didn't buy hardly anyone. They brought in Del Stevens from Brighton. That, in my opinion, I mean, he's championship proven. But that's like that's a relegation signing. That's no disrespect to the player, because I'm sure Del Stevens is a wonderful guy and a brilliant player. I've seen him play, he's brilliant. But that right there is a relegation signing. That's like Burnley fighting in a relegation battle. And Sean Dyche does not deserve that, because he could literally, if the club doesn't get taken over, he could literally walk away, and they haven't backed Dyche, in my opinion. They haven't properly backed him. They haven't got the right signings at the right price that takes Burnley from a mid-table to 10th place club into a European challenger again. Because Sean Dyche has done so much. He can only do so much with that Burnley squad. He can only do so much. But things just haven't happened. The best bit of business Burnley did was keep hold of James Tarkowski, despite the interest from West Ham, from Leicester, from everyone. So, you know, I think Burnley are going to be in a lot of trouble if they're not careful, but I hope Dyche gets that squad together and salvages what remains of the transfer window from their point of view. And the worst piece of business done was West Ham United. How long does it take for the owners to go? Because they've not backed the manager. Yes, they've made Souček a permanent deal, which is good because he's a good player. He provided some good moments at the end of last season for West Ham that made them stay up. They brought in that Czech Republic fullback. I think it's Cabral. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but he looks a good player, but I think he's backup. I think he's a backup player, in my opinion. Apart from that, they've sold more players. Cullen to Anderlecht. Felipe Anderson's been loaned out. And this is what I was saying earlier. If West Ham were known as the Academy of Football, right? Ngakia and Diangana leaves the club. Okay, that's not the right move. Mark Noble publicly criticised that. People saying it's wrong to publicly criticise. I don't think it is. Mark Noble did a good job with that one, mate. Good on you for standing up for the club that you love and not against the owners. But the other route was the European route that Pellegrini introduced before he got sacked a couple of years ago. if they're going to go down that route, why are they? If they're not going to go down the academy route, while they're getting rid of them, why are they then selling and loaning out the academy players and a European talent like Felipe Anderson? Yes, he might not be the best one in the squad, but he's been loaned out to Porto. Come on, what's the direction of West Ham United at the minute? What direction are they going in? They might have won at Leicester 3-0, but that was David Moyes. That wasn't the board. That was David Moyes. Well, David Moyes' tactics from behind the scenes because he was still self-isolating, but that was David Moyes and his assistant Alan Irvine. That was nothing to do with the board because the board didn't back the manager. And this is the same story with Burnley. It's the same story with Manchester United. They didn't back the manager in the right way. I think they should have gone down the academy route and the European route. They should have merged the two together and create a squad that's unstoppable. They shouldn't have let go of Diangana. That was met with anger. They shouldn't have let go of Ngakia. That was met with anger. They shouldn't have let go of Domingos Quina a couple of years ago to Watford. And you saw that pre-season clip of Ngakia providing the ball to Domingos Quina. Beautiful ball. 2 academy graduates from West Ham working at a different club. You know, Josh Cullen, I'm sure that's been met with a lot of anger as well because he doesn't deserve to go. I think he could have built something at West Ham. Their best piece of business was keeping hold of Declan Rice. And that's a good piece of business for West Ham because he was attracting interest from the likes of Chelsea, who were willing to pay 70, 80 million pounds for him. So, and you know, if Declan Rice came in, would that have pushed N'Golo Kante out the door? Maybe, maybe not, because Man United were interested in Conte. So, you know, keeping hold of Declan Rice was key, and it was key for Conte's future at Chelsea as well. So, I don't know. I think West Ham could be in trouble. Burnley are going to be in trouble. Manchester United are definitely going to be in trouble this year. So, finally, final thing then, the final top 3 list to end the video. So we've talked about the best business, talked about the worst business. Let's talk about the top 3 best signings of the window, including deadline day. At number 3, I'm going to go with Thomas Partey. We haven't seen him play yet, but I think that he's going to be a wonderful signing at Arsenal. Second's a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Alan at Everton, because I think he's been fantastic so far. We've seen him play compared to... That's why Partey's number 3 and not number 2, because I think that we've seen Alan play, we've seen number 1 play. So I think that Alan is a good signing for Everton. And at number 1, got to be James Rodriguez. James Rodriguez at Everton. So 2 Everton guys and an Arsenal guy that hasn't played yet. That's my top 3 signings of the window. So there we go. That is this action-packed transfer deadline day summary across all 4 English professional leagues, the Premier League, the Championship, League 1 and League 2. Do not forget the Portuguese window ends on the 25th of October, so Premier League clubs, Championship, League 1, League 2 can still get in and out of the Portuguese league. Other transfer windows have ended. The Scottish one ended, I think, a couple of hours after the English one did, so that was over at midnight. And there was a bit of business done in there. I know Rangers got a new midfielder, Bongani Zungi. That's how to pronounce Bongani Zungi. He looks a good player for Rangers, so Stephen Gerrard's got a good one with that one. The Championship, League 1 and League window close on the 15th or 16th of October, so that'll be business in and out of the Premier League. Hopefully Doncaster Rovers can get at least one more Premier League loanee, maybe a right back until Charlie Seaman comes into the squad next season as a full Rovers player. So that'll be I think Championship, League 1, League 2 will be the focus on the 15th, 16th of October, so that's going to be a big day in the transfer market. But thank you very much for watching this video, the transfer deadline day summary. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe for more. And for now, guys, I am the CHALL. Keep living this football life. That's the final whistle. Have a nice day.